Hi, I'm Kevin Labar, General Education Teacher, 7th grade, Breivik Mission, Alaska. The Science Standards of Alaska are not a curriculum. They were not implemented to influence your district's choice when selecting a science program. The standards are based on what knowledge students will need to survive and hopefully thrive in the 21st century. The Science Standards for Alaska were developed as a student-centered approach to science instruction, to engage students and facilitate educators to engage in a new way of looking at science in their classrooms. They are based on the framework for K through 12 science education published by the National Academies Press. When students know what they are learning, they are 3 times more likely to learn it. Those are the words of John Hattie, and in these changing times, they are more relevant than ever. The performance expectations, PEs, are designed to help you as a teacher get your students fully engaged in learning. PEs can be used to develop lesson plans that let students know what is expected of them. Do not think of the PEs as one more thing that has been added to what you're already teaching. Think of them as a small change that will reduce the amount of reteaching required because students will know what they are learning. The performance expectations are the heart of the standard. Below that are the foundational boxes going from left to right. They are science and engineering practices, SEPs, disciplinary core ideas, DCIs, and cross-cutting concepts, CCCs. These sections are described in detail on the DEED's website. For this lesson, it is enough to know they are the foundation of the performance expectations. This slide shows performance expectations for middle school standard for engineering and design, MS, ETS 1-1. Define the criteria and constraints of a design problem with sufficient precision to ensure a successful solution, taking into account relevant scientific principles and potential impacts on people and the natural environment that may limit possible solutions. For your lesson plans, it is helpful to convert performance expectations into learning intentions that are easily understood by your students. Investigation swingers. This experiment will be used as an example on how to change performance expectations into learning intentions on your lesson plans. Science and engineering practices. Define a design problem that can be solved through the development of an object, tool, process, or system that includes multiple criteria and constraints, including scientific knowledge that may limit possible solutions. The design problems for students to consider in the swingers investigation is the concept of a variable. Students are expected to learn that they can only change one variable at a time. Disciplinary core ideas. The more precisely a designed task's criteria and constraints can be defined, the more likely it is that the design solution will be successful. Specifications of constraint include consideration of scientific principles and other relevant knowledge likely to limit possible solutions. Students are learning the scientific principle that in a controlled experiment, all variables are controlled except one to test that variable's effect on outcome. All human activity draws on natural resources and has both short and long-term consequences, positive as well as negative, for the health of people and the natural environment. This investigation is designed to build a foundation of transfer knowledge so that when students are looking at local environmental issues, they will be able to design experiments that truly measure the consequences of human activities. This is what your students are expected to learn. A learning goal needs to be in student-friendly language. Think about your students' level of comprehension and try to paraphrase it into student-friendly language. Let's look at the performance expectation. Define the criteria and constraints of a design problem with sufficient precision to ensure a successful solution, taking into account relevant scientific principles and potential impact on people and the natural environment that may limit possible solutions. What are the key concepts? Define a design problem with sufficient precision to ensure a successful solution, taking into account relevant scientific principles. In student understandable language, this might read as, I am learning why scientists only change one variable when conducting a controlled experiment. To measure if your students have reached their learning intentions, your lessons will need to include success criteria. The purpose or goals of the investigation that relate to the learning intentions can be shared with the students as success criteria. I can explain the concept of a variable. I can conduct a controlled experiment. I can use the scientific method to conduct investigations and build explanations. To measure if your students are reaching their success criteria, lessons will need to include exit tickets or other small checks for understanding. If your school has professional learning communities working together to develop learning intentions, success criteria, and checks for understandings are one way to develop teacher efficacy. Thank you for viewing this video. Please check out this channel for more videos on the SSAs and other educational topics. And for more information about the Science Standards for Alaska, including resources, planning guides, and tools, please visit the Department of Education and Early Development's standard webpage at, and there's the address. Thank you very much.